Is speed overrated in terms of getting a better score on the golf course? Hello everybody and welcome back. This is episode number 79 of No Putts Given. I've got Harry, Chris, and Tony. We're talking slow swing speeds and the best drivers for it today, as well as taking a look at a couple of training aids. So, let's get it.
Lenny, we're getting it.
Let's get it, Lenny.
Hey Chris, nice shirt.
Thank you. John Barba got this for me when he was in Vermont. He went to Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, he actually did.
I've been there.
He's like, hey, do you want anything? I'm like, yeah, can they like send, you know, a bunch of ice cream? Which they can ship that to you. He said, how about a shirt? I said, yeah, that's awesome. I love my Ben and Jerry's shirt. So
it's very subtle.
I wear it sporadically. It kind of just blends into the background. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say about it.
I mean, come on, Ben and Jerry's. Cherry Garcia, one of my all-time favorite flavors.
Ooh, that's a good one.
What a guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Harry, this week we are being introduced to the winners for the best drivers for slow swing speeds. We've already done high and mid swing speeds, so if you're in those categories, you can go back to the website and check those out. This week, slow swing speeds turn. So what have we got?
All right, let's do it.
How slow is slow? What are we talking about? Like, who are slow swing speed?
19 below.
So under 90 miles per hour.
The best one for slow swing speeds under 90 miles an hour is the Epic Speed by Callaway. It got best for total distance. It hits 70% of fairways across the testing pool, which is pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, within that demographic did really well.
Yeah, so it was, you know, first in strokes gained, first in total distance, and sixth in forgiveness rank, which isn't that bad at all, to be honest.
No, especially if there's tends to be, you know, forgiveness differences are pretty tight, to say the least. So yeah. Sixth is it's definitely not a case of if you're not first, you're last.
Right. And then you're rocking the PXG 0211, which is in second place. That's their value model. I can definitely say that was an impressive driver for the price it had. And it was best for forgiveness, and it had really consistent low to mid spin. So if you're one of those guys that spins it a little bit high, you might want to look into this one.
That comes up quite a bit in True Golf Fit fittings as well.
It really does.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you may be tempted to look at the price point and almost look past it because you're like, what is it, like $300? How can it be that good?
It's best value as well. Yeah, so it's best value. So it's in the mid twos, I think.
A little bit of a sleeper, but really solid.
Yeah, it's cracking.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it wouldn't be more popular if it weren't PXG. You know, like if it, like people would expect, you know what I mean? Like I said, because there's some of that background, like people don't quite know what to do with the price. Like, is that not enough? Is that, you know, like they have to, they kind of have to react to it and go, well, if it were Tour Edge, people are like, oh, okay, yep, makes sense. They probably sell, you know, 1 million of them, but people are just like, well, I don't know. Reality is though, like I said, it comes up in a lot of fittings. It fits a lot of golfers, and you know, there is some irony that it's, you know, potentially it's the best tested, you know, PXG driver we've ever had is also the least expensive, which
it's, yeah. And we talk about it before, right? That fine line between inexpensive and cheap and how products get perceived. So yeah, I don't know. And again, it's not like you can walk into any golf shop and demo a PXG driver. That's always going to be a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah.
But like if you want to save money, you still want to buy a new current model and
look
get
no further.
A strong
PXG.
performer. Yeah, that's
and a really good driver. Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, so
next, Harry.
Wrapping up third place, you got Titleist TSI 2, which is not the designed one for the slower swing speed.
Well, again, like our slow is,
it's a little bit higher.
Our slow is faster than the market slow, and so
this makes a lot of sense. Yes,
I'm not surprised to see TS2 there by any stretch.
Well, you have to think too, like slow, right? Slow swing speed are everything effectively up to, you know, 89.9 miles per hour. So that's a huge range.
Right.
I think the range is like 78 to 90. So we trend a little faster in our slow swing speed than the market as a whole. We have to be aware of that. But, you know, I would say our slower swing speed reader also trends a little faster than the market as well. So I think we do a good job kind of hitting our reader for sure.
Yeah.
So third place, TSI2, another good showing for Titleist.
Yeah, runner up for Forgiveness, 70% fairways hit. Congrats for Titleist. And then fourth place, you got Honma TR2460 model.
Ooh, Hanma making an appearance.
Humana.
Yeah, it's 2 years in a row that one has tested really well for us.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
It is a sneaky one. So this was a top 5 performer in total distance and forgiveness, which is a really good combination right there for distance and forgiveness, because normally you lose one or two of those. It towards the top for ball speeds, and again, 70% of fairways hit. So that was an impressive one for Honma. So good for them. And then you got your best value, which is the PXG 0211, which we've already covered.
That was a great rundown, Harry. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If you are in the slow swing speed category, or you just want to check out the results, we're going to link the article for you here. But guys, since we're talking about the slow swing speed category in terms of drivers today, there are things that you can do to increase your swing speed, and we profiled one of those on the website last week. Tony, why don't you give us a rundown on the Rypstick and what it is and why it might be beneficial to golfers, or it might not be beneficial to golfers. Tell me about it.
I mean, this is kind of a newer entry in what is becoming a rapidly growing area within the kind of the training space, this idea of speed training, right? Adding swing speed translates to ball speed. That's the thinking. And so the Rypstick builds on the SuperSpeed system. The benefit there, right? Rypstick, this is it. I'm just going to fly it right by the camera here. So one stick instead of three. That's the major selling point, and the what SuperSpeed does by giving you 3 sticks with different weights at the end. Rypstick does with a kind of an adjustable system. So as you're moving up and down in speed, just pop a weight out, pop it back in. It legitimately is that fast to do.
What does that remind me of?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what it is in movies with the old barrel guns where they pop.
There you go. Yeah, similar,
like the 6-shooter, little 6-shooter.
Yeah, in the old westerns where they go.
What do they do?
And so optionally as well, it's also it's counterweighted kind of little grip here, and you can unscrew this if you don't want to train with the counterweight. So tons of flexibility in a single stick for $189, I think. The guy who invented this, Dr. Luc Benoit, PGA professional out of the Minneapolis area.
Not French then.
Really, really kind of well-versed in movement patterns and things like that. And so the other selling point here, when you buy a Rypstick, you are allowed, you are enabled, whatever you want to call it. It's optionally, you can send in a swing video, and Luke will review it, give you a couple of drills, tell you specific areas that you need to work on, give you a couple drills, and then if you want to keep going, he has online coaching programs. Fitness assessment is also part of your initial purchase, and again, they'll give you kind of target those areas that Luke identifies in the swing video. They'll give you a couple exercises, and again, if you want to keep going, optionally, they have fitness programs again. He's working on some stuff around course strategy, so I kind of described it as sort of like this idea of Peloton for your golf swing, like this whole ecosystem. And certainly it's not there yet, but that's kind of the big vision. But it's, $189 gets you.
It's much cheaper than a Peloton, let me tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, Dave Wolf did a profile on Peloton, so if you're interested in those, click this link.
Any word on whether it was originally called the 6-shooter, Tony? Did they entertain any Western kind of themed ideas or names?
This was actually a late ad. So when I first started talking to Luke more than a year ago, Luke is actually the guy who put me in touch with Tim over at Stay Active, who fixed my elbow. Stay Active. There it is. It all comes back.
There it is, full circle.
Yeah, so that's my connection to all of this. But so yeah, no, the kind of the weight system was an evolution beyond the initial prototype that I saw. But again, just kind of a really tight package, and the selling point, Luke, right, 45 Tour Pros and counting, so obviously there's some credibility here. But if you travel a lot, if you like to travel with your training aids, take your orange whip with you, that kind of thing. Chris can show us another one that just came out here recently as different ways to skin the cat, build a better mousetrap, whatever you want to call it. But this swing speed gaining space is rapidly growing from the time when I should have brought it up. I have this thing in my basement, which is like a short stick with fins on it, and the whole idea is just to swing really hard, and it creates drag.
Oh, I've seen that.
Forces you to swing.
You are one of those guys that if you see a golf commercial or infomercial, you're like, I need that shit.
Chris, I want to come to you though, because you have gone through the SuperSpeed system. So, and I know you were a fan of it as you finished up the system.
And I'm still a fan of it.
Looking at Rypstick, comparing it to SuperSpeed, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, so this is not a knock on SuperSpeed whatsoever. I mean, you know, you go back a year, 2 years, like I said, they were kind of the originator, if you will, breaking into that market. It's part of the reason, you know, those systems are really ubiquitous on tour. You saw them in everybody's bag, or at least it seemed that way, right? You saw them all over the place. And the reason that you did is because it works. There's a lot of evidence, right? We have forum testing that finished up kind of last year. We still have a number of forum members that use it and swear by it. And it's not a knock whatsoever on them. It's a great system for the people that it works for. It tends to work really well. I used it for kind of beginning half of last season, and I really liked it. And the things that I really liked about it were, one, again, you could kind of take the system with you wherever you went. I could be at my daughter's soccer game and, you know, get a session in there.
Why would you do that?
Because, like, you got to get it done. And it's like, hey, they have to be there an hour early to warm up. And it's like, what am I going to do for an hour? Sitting here.
They're warming up, you're going to warm up, right?
And so your daughters are as they're warming up, the team's like, what is that guy doing over there? And your daughter's like, I don't know him.
Why has he got a Ben and Jerry shirt on?
You go to 7 soccer games and see if you don't do some other stuff.
Yeah, when you have 7 kids, you tell me how it is, you know? It's like, I'm just trying to get a little me time in there. But, you know, and again, once you get used to the protocols and how things go and the progression, it's like anything else. You get comfortable with that system, and if it's working and it's comfortable and you kind of know how much time it takes and you build it into, you know, kind of into your daily routine, why switch, right? If it's working. I think the other part of it is nobody would sit there and expect one company to look at that and nobody else to look into it and say, okay, how can we do something like that, either different or better, or, you know, in this case, bringing together potentially more value, whether it's with lessons or training regimens or any of those. How many different things can we kind of package together where, you know, rather than one person having to go here for speed training and over here for fitness and over here for, you know, lessons, could we have them come to one central place? I think that's the dynamics of the market that are super fun. And so the one that I'm going to be starting to use, just got it in the mail, even got a special head cover for it.
I thought for a second that was one of Dave's head covers.
Oh, one of Dave's? No, this is an article coming out. This is a head cover by Case Golf, or Casey Golf. They can do some custom stuff. So you'll see that's a mountain and some hot tubs on there.
Ah, okay.
I love it. Anyway, this is called the Stack, or Stack System. It's the genesis of two guys, Dr. Sasho McKenzie and Marty Jertson. Marty, you may know that name, longtime engineer at Ping. Also playing professional, has played in a number of majors, different professional cup events. So, I mean, hell of a golfer. Perhaps most importantly, he went to Colorado School of Mines.
All right.
I was going to say, you got to mention the School of Mines.
You remember when Tiger Woods was getting announced on the tee, and he was like saying, "Winner of this." I was like, "All right, come on."
And Phil was like, "That's enough."
Yeah. Wait, what are you saying? Mimes?
Like no, Mines.
No,
M-I-N-E-S.
Okay.
Mines.
School of Mimes would also be awesome.
I was like, this just got way more interesting.
A lot, yeah.
Marty from the School of Mimes has a lot to say, but never actually does.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so the deal with Stack System. So one thing people are going to notice, it's more expensive. I think it's like $300, $350.
Yeah, $325-ish.
Ooh, okay.
Somewhere in there. So it's definitely more expensive. What it is, as it sounds, the Stack. So you have this little top piece here, just a little thread. Obviously easy to use. Let's try that again. There you go.
Shit.
Take 2. Ready?
And There we go. Yeah,
you didn't stack anything in there, though.
No, not yet, but I'm going to. So what it comes with is
a stack.
A stack, yep. You got some CNC weights, different, right? You got different weights to them, hence the term the stack. Different orientations.
So it's like a barbell, essentially, where you have weights on if you're bench pressing or anything.
Yeah, kind of like a barbell. And what's really cool, the thing that I'm super excited about with this one, they call it variable inertia training. Basically, you got about 30 different combinations that you can use with the different weights that are on there. And really, the power to this thing is the app. So it's an app-based system. You need a swing speed radar of some type. You need a phone. Obviously, you can run the application. But the first thing you do is you spend about 30 minutes and you go through a fitness profile. And based on that, it presents you with your own individualized training system. And it also will assess for you kind of your different potentials. So based on what it's seeing that you're currently doing, takes all that. And again, this is why it's really good to have super smart people like Marty and Sasho on the back end that create these and then update them, is that it then produces for you your own individualized training program. There's obviously plans to make that more robust moving forward, you know, videos, things, so on and so forth. But like I said, I'm super interested to give this a run and see if it's better than, different from.
I have the questions. All of the questions I have.
Lay them out. What do we got?
Lay them out for me.
SuperSpeed have proven that swinging lighter products than your current driver increases swing speed over time.
Well, it's a progression, so it's lighter, same, heavier. So
yeah, exactly. Are these products the same kind of concept, or are they like a baseball? You put a really heavy at the end, and then you're swinging it as hard as you can, and then you go in, and then you lose it after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, so good question. So what's similar about it is that, you know, the idea, right, is that you're trying to kind of code break biomechanical systems, and you're trying to kind of unlock that potential, reset kind of the wiring in your brain in terms of how fast your brain is telling you that you can go based on certain things, right? So, you know, I say like Sasho, his whole background is in biomechanics and that, you know, understanding how the body works. And really that's what you're trying to do. SuperSpeed, similar idea, right? Where you can swing that lighter one, let's say faster, right? So you're swinging that lighter stick a little bit faster. Your brain is now getting the messaging that, hey, I can swing 115 miles an hour as opposed to 108. And then you build up to a little bit heavier one. And it's still, you know, the brain is still saying, hey, I can do this at 115 miles an hour. And now I'm doing it with a slightly heavier stick. And now I'm going, okay, well, now I can take that one that's the same weight as my driver. And maybe I can't quite get to 115 with the lighter one, but I can get to 112. All right. And 112 is faster than 108.
So it's the same concept as SuperSpeed, lighter, and then potentially heavier.
No.
The thing that appeals to me about the stack system in principle is that the weighting and kind of what you're stacking is tailored to you personally. So as I understand it, Chris, I haven't done it yet. I'm waiting on mine, but again, this is why you need that radar device. And so with each swing, you're telling the app how fast you swung each time. And it's voice command, so you don't have to get in there and type away. You're just kind of shouting out how fast that last swing was. And based on those inputs, it creates a program specifically for you based on algorithms that Sasho has created through his years of study. So,
and it learns as it goes. So based on the information you give it, you have an individualized serial number on your system. And so everything, you know, is tied to that. That basically becomes your kind of social security number. Everything's tied to that. And then from there, like you said, it changes and modifies, again, based on your outcomes and based on how you're using it, changes as you go. And the other thing, it also gives you a grit score.
What is that? Because I've seen it, but I don't have mine yet. So what is the grit score?
Yeah, it's basically like your fidelity of following the program. So like if you're supposed to get 3 workouts in this week and you only got 2, your grit score might go down.
You have no grit.
Oh, they shame you.
I like that. It's
kind of that, you know, it's like something more aggressive than like maybe your your Apple Watch or something that tells you to stand up. You know, it's like, hey, fat ass, you've been sitting for way too long. Why don't you stand up, move around?
That's exactly why I don't have an Apple Watch. I don't want to take shit from my watch.
You know, but I'm more than happy to take shit from my speed training systems. Like, hey, you know, you were supposed to get a workout in Thursday by this time.
You've missed the last 762.
You have 4 workouts in the last 2 weeks and 6 trips to Jersey Mike's. Can we have a conversation?
Something's out of. I will say, too, the other thing that may be appealing about the stack system in particular is that from a size perspective, it's the length of a hybrid. And
correct.
So... Again, small detail, right? And I'm sure there are very solid reasons why Sasho and Marty went that way. But ultimately, as a guy who's going to use one of these things, I think, you know, like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity if I have slightly tall ceilings in my house. Like, Chris, can you get away with it in your basement? For example,
can. Yep. So I got 9-foot ceilings in my basement. I can't swing driver. You know, this is perfect. Like, I can use it down here, no problem. Not even worry about it.
Yeah, so that may be a selling point is you know, if you have tall ceilings, 9-foot ceilings, 10-foot ceilings, now 10-foot ceilings you can swing a driver anyway, but here you're like, you just have a little more clearance to use it indoors, which is nice if you have winters like I do here in New York.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I set you guys up a little bit. I wanted to talk about training aids, and we know that they do work to increase swing speed and then resulting in increased ball speed.
Biohacking.
My larger question and point of this discussion was, and there's probably a few ways to go about it, is speed overrated in terms of getting a better score on the golf course? I mean, I think there are a couple of pro examples that we could use, Bryson being the obvious one, but what do you guys think? Do you think speed is as important as the emphasis that's put on it?
In that ARCO study we published last week, we see a clear correlation between distance and handicap. And, you know, am I a lower handicap because I swing fast, or, you know, it's hard to say exactly what that correlation is or the reason behind it, but it does exist. And from a strokes gains perspective, right, if all other things being equal, if you can hit it farther, the expectation is that you're going to shoot a lower score for it. So, and if nothing else, just anecdotally, right, the tale as old as time in golf is that distance sells. Almost everybody wants to hit it farther. And, you know, I can go, hey, I'm pretty comfortable with how far I hit my sand wedge, but it's not uncommon to see 5 to 10 and even 15 miles an hour of swing speed gained from some of these systems. And so that's a case where, yeah, you're picking up yards, like 20 plus in some cases. And so that's, for any golfer, that's big. Even Harry, you know, I think if Harry could go out there and keep the ball in play and hit it 20 yards farther with his driver.
Well,
it's a huge advantage against the field. The only problem that I have with everyone saying about, I need to get faster, I need to get 10, 15 more miles an hour out of my swing. But you have to correlate it with efficiency and strike, because I could be swinging it like Bryson at 133. He's pitching at about 320, but with 133 miles an hour, you should be pitching it a lot further than that, potentially.
Well, Bryson he's a tough example for a couple of reasons, but so you can't use that normal correlation with, well, he swings at X, so it should go Y, because one of the things that is not discussed very often with Bryson is that at the swing speeds he is achieving now, he is not playing, his driver CT is way, way, way low.
Yeah.
So his driver is nowhere near the limit, because face technology that thin is not going to hold.
He's going to crack. Yeah. All right. So take 133. I could be swinging 133. It's never going to happen. My back would give out. But if I got to 133, I am pretty much optimizing my distance for my launch characteristics right now. So mine's about 310 carry. If I try and get an extra 5 to 7 miles an hour clubhead speed, I might only still hit it 310 and carry, purely because my strike location might be off the heel, might be off the toe. I might be hitting it all over the face now, because I need to be matching that closure rate with the strike location. So it's in my mind, it's all potential distance and potential ball speeds?
Yeah, so one we haven't talked about, another system is Top Speed, which is a Clay Ballard came up with this system. This is an online program. You swing your own driver, and it's a series of drills. And basically, it's just all about ball speed. And Clay's whole thing is, look, don't worry about impact location. Don't worry about ball speed. Just how fast, club speed, club speed, club speed. Everything is club speed. That's the number we want, right? We want to get that club speed up. And I did that last fall. And what I found, like the first couple of times, I started 104, 105, and after the second, third session, I'm hitting 112, 113, right? And I'm clanking it off the toe and heel and almost off the crown. But Clay's philosophy, Clay's belief is like, just keep doing it. Your body is going to figure out how to make good contact. And sure enough, what I found after a few sessions is that the harder I swung, the more centered my impact became.
Exactly.
I don't know exactly why that is. I attribute it to, when you get out on the golf course, right, and you're trying to take that, what you would consider a measured swing, a controlled swing, you have all these thoughts of, like, all right, I don't want to flip it over. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And I think those things kind of creep into your head even during the swing, right? I say, I kind of tried to steer that one a little bit because something didn't feel right. And so what I found with Top Speed was that you get to a point where you're swinging so hard, there's almost no time for those thoughts to come in. You cannot do any other manipulation than just hit it. And I found like the tail end, and again, I didn't play much last year, but I was definitely longer, and I was hitting a higher percentage of fairways. And so I'm like, yeah, there's something about unlocking speed and sort of hacking, right? And to me, part of the biohack that comes through speed training is that it shuts your brain down for those little, kind of prevents you from overthinking it and worse yet, sort of trying to overthink it in the middle of your swing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to answer your question, kind of go back, Miranda, like your original question was what? Basically, does speed matter or is it becoming over?
Is it becoming overemphasized? Is it as important as the manufacturers of these training aids would tell you it is, or does it correlate to distance as much as we think it does?
Yeah, I think, until we see some type of, Mongolian reversal of how you play golf, which I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon, the idea is to get it in the hole in as few strokes as possible. And we know that in general, right? In general, the closer you are to the hole, the more accurate that next shot's going to be. Very few people would say, hey, I would rather hit this shot from 150 yards than 100 yards. So as long as those are the guiding principles of the game, of course speed matters. Of course distance matters. Why would you not?
There's a sweet spot. Yeah, if you say the hole is 400 yards and you're hitting it 320 in the rough, that's fine. But if you're saying, if you hit it 210 off the tee, you have 190 in.
190 in, right.
Now, if you gain an extra 20 yards and say you're still in the rough, you're still 170 out in the rough, which is still going to be taking probably a 6-iron out of that.
You're still 20 yards closer.
But
and that's what all the math says. Closer is better.
Yes, it does. But there is also, looking at one of your articles, Tony, if you're 100 yards back from, say, you got 100 yards in your rough and you got 200 in the fairway.
Give me the 100.
Yes. But
it's about 30 to 50 yards from a strokes gain perspective. But the thing you have to keep in mind is it's not an absolute choice. Right? It's not like I can hit it 20 yards farther and miss every fairway, or I can, hit it 20 yards less and hit every fairway. It doesn't work that way. It's, those fairway margins are probably it's probably a very narrow difference. And
so would you say distance is the king, or fairways in reg are the king?
I would say this, Harry. We could go play around. You play from the tips, and I will play from the absolute most forward tees on the course, and we'll just play straight up.
That's not a bad way to look at it. Again, it's not an absolute choice.
So, would you take that bet for $100 a hole? You play from the tips. I'll play from the absolute most forward. You're a plus, 4? I'm a 1. So that's 5 strokes. We'll just play straight up for $100 a hole.
It depends on if the forward tees are like the family tees that are halfway in the fairway.
But if we're chasing that, right, and taking it to a logical extreme,
I might take the bet if you're in the rough and you don't get to tee it up.
There are a lot of factors that go into whether or not this is a win. But if you say, hey, I'm going to give you 20 yards off the tee, and the trade-off is you're going to hit 3 to 5% fewer fairways.
Yeah, so that's the trade-off.
That is a more realistic version of what actually happens. Again, it's not like, yeah, you picked up 20 yards off the tee, but you went from hitting 50% of the fairways to 0%, right? That's not the trade-off. It's a narrow kind of trade-off in terms of, whether or not you're in good shape off the tee, which is what ultimately matters. And so, yeah, I think you want the yards.
Miranda, I'm taking the distance. I think if you went out to any practice facility on the PGA Tour and talked to the guys and said, hey, I am willing to sell you another 10 yards off the tee on average without a huge penalty in accuracy. Let's even call it like a linear penalty. So you're going to hit it 10 yards further and you're going to miss one more fairway every other round or whatever it was. You'd retire the next day. Because you'd sell to everybody.
Yeah.
They would all take it.
The only thing that I'm thinking about right now is I've actually gone the opposite way. I had a driver that I could not control. My spin rate was too low. Like that's another option. So 9 times out of 10, if you're going to be gaining yardage, your spin rate's probably going to increase. So then you have to tackle the driver shaft, and instead of going from a max, you might have to go to. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
If you can give me 20 more yards, I will happily deal with any equipment transitions I have to make.
I'll figure out the rest.
All right, but what was if you're hitting knuckleballs now?
Well, and that was, so I found when I was doing the SuperSpeed at the tail end of last year, I had to make a change. I had to go from a Ventus Blue to a Ventus Black because at 110, 112, 113 miles an hour, that Ventus Blue didn't hold up as well as it did at 104. And again,
that makes sense.
And it could be for a variety of reasons. Blue's a little more counterbalanced, right? So maybe that additional swing speed. I mean, but again,
that shaft loading pattern changed.
Give me the 20 yards. I'll figure out the rest. If gaining 20 yards makes me so inaccurate that I can't keep it on the planet, right? We're going to figure that out pretty quickly. And to your point, Harry, I think
Phil Mickelson hasn't.
No, but I mean,
that's a great example right there. He's still struggling as shit.
Well, Rory's probably the best example.
He is a phenomenal driver,
but he's been the most honest about it. Where he said, "Yeah, I chased distance. I'm not," and Bryson absolutely had something to do with that. I chased the distance as well, and that's part of the reason that he has not played as well in recent months as he had prior, because there was a Bryson effect there. So for him, chasing distance in that regard had a negative impact on his game. Again, we're talking, that's the elite of the elite.
Right, but he's hitting it like 320, 330, and if he's not shooting better scores, is distance really the answer?
Maybe not for Rory, but Rory is...
Yeah, I know, it's elite of the elite.
Rory's over here. How many people have said, hey, you could lose 10 pounds tomorrow, but gain a little muscle and lose 5% body fat? Does anybody not want to do that?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, there's some guy, gal that's already professional, bodybuilder or whatever, that's like, well, geez, I'm already down to 2% body fat. If I lose 5, I'm negative. That doesn't work, That's Rory. For everybody else, on the planet, pretty much, that's something that they would take in a heartbeat. Everybody would take 20 yards. Absolutely everybody.
No, I get it. Yep.
My opinion.
So the answer to my larger discussion question is no, speed is not overrated. Use these training aids, work with the systems and the programs, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I was just texting somebody, I think a conversation with Lou Stagner over text last week. I was like, the surest way to be wrong about anything in golf is to speak in absolutes. So I would say in general, the speed is probably going to be good for you. There are guys who may ruin their swings, admittedly, right? By trying to do this, it may overcook it, may cause more problems than it solves. But I think for the overwhelming majority of golfers, it's beneficial for sure.
So that brings up another question. Yeah, to what extent do you have to really focus on technique, and so that you don't lose technique as you're going through these systems because you're focusing on speed?
Because there's a lot of guys out there that don't know the basics about a golf swing. They just pick up a club and go. So they don't know how to fix while my ball is going right and staying right.
And that
this
kind of
brings
comes
us full circle
to,
back to Rypstick and what Luke's trying to do is his goal ultimately with the Rypstick platform is to have you play better golf, shoot lower scores. And that's why he has the coaching programs and why he says, look, that's, we want guys to swing faster and hit it farther, but we don't want them to hit it off the planet.
Right.
And you can make an argument, right? Is it more beneficial to hit balls or not hit balls as part of your swing training program? And so, Rypstick is a not hit balls, SuperSpeed, obviously, Stack, not hit balls, Clay Ballard's Top Speed, hit balls, different kind of approach there. But Luke is big on movement patterns, and so he says what he's like. I can fix a guy by having him go out in his backyard and follow a series of drills without hitting golf balls, because sometimes when you're hitting balls, to accomplish the objective of hitting the golf ball, you do maybe some things you shouldn't be doing in the golf swing. So again, part of the Rypstick program is to integrate a coaching piece into it, so that it's not just speed; it's speed that you can control, that you can take to the golf course. Speed is the foundation to something bigger.
Exactly. None of these are standalone in my mind, where it's like, hey, here's what I'm going to do this year. I'm never going to chip. I'm never going to putt. I'm never going to go work on anything else. All I'm going to do is stack system and just see if my scores improve if I hit it further, right? It's part of a cohesive approach, and that's kind of what we started with, this idea of an ecosystem that, people are still trying to develop and figure out training, optimal performance, biohacking, whatever, and what role do these different segments play within that to optimize performance? Like I said, there's probably a nutritional element, there's an exercise element, there's a technique element, and then you have the mental component, and then you have, okay, are these people playing competitively? You have course management, you have systems like Decade, etc. And it's like, okay, all of those things need to go together. We're talking about just one piece of that pie. I don't want anybody to think that this is the entire pie. This is definitely just one slice of the Ben and Jerry's, right? This isn't
buying a Rypstick isn't going to put you onto the PGA Tour by September.
No, no.
Harry's like, damn it.
Shit.
You make it seem like golf is hard or something.
Right? I don't know. I want some Ben and Jerry's now.
Well, Tony, we are slowly making our way through your bag.
As I figure out what's going in it, yeah.
Yeah, as you add something, you let us know, and we visit it. So would you like to introduce us to the putter that has been newly added to your bag?
This will fire some people up. So we'll start at the grip again. So I don't know how well it's going to come through because it's upside down. But this is the Ping Pistol PP62 grip. It is like as ever so slightly a pistol grip as you're going to find, which is good because I don't like pistol grips, but I really like this. For me, I find it's a little bit smaller than a SuperStroke Slim 3.0, which was the grip I used before, and so just a little more comfortable.
So it's the pistol grip for people that don't like pistol grips.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Here we go. This is going to get people fired up on Twitter. We've already seen some.
Stability Shaft.
Yeah, so this is their new Tour Black limited edition they sent me.
Of course they did.
I like it. I like Stability Shaft just because it's cool. I think it's cool. It looks cool.
Wait, so you just think it's just cool? You don't think about performance?
Well, let me finish. So we did a test on the original. In our test, I think we could say it was quantifiably better for one or two golfers. For everybody else, not worse. So
there was no real difference.
Yeah, so I would say kind of no harm in it. But the one thing that I like about this in particular that may make some people curious is that with the largely graphite construction, vibration dampening comes into play more than it would with steel. And you may be thinking, so what? But if you're like me and play a higher compression golf ball,
like a left dash, maybe?
Like a left dash, it does make it feel a bit softer. Now, you're never going to confuse that left dash for a super soft because of this shaft, but it does kind of tone down the clicky a little bit, which may matter to some.
What's our putter head? What do we got here?
That's what I was thinking it was.
Oh!
PXG Mustang. They fit me for the Mustang when I was out there more than a year ago now, right? So this is
Mustang Sally.
This is the Battle Ready edition they sent me. So kind of just some cool cosmetics and some massive tungsten here.
Can you show us the face on that? On the Mustang? Because it is mesmerizing, the diamond pattern. So it's tighter, right? So it's tighter in the middle, more spread out as you go, and that's to help kind of control the speed, right? So kind of variable speed control throughout the face.
So you got strong toe hang by the looks of it.
Oh yeah, and so I have
Hello.
So I have too. This is an adjustable. So we've mentioned this before. I'm like super strong arc guy. So this has adjustable weighting, and I think the typical weighting is probably 10 and 10, but I have 15 in the toe and 5 in the heel.
What's the length you're playing it at?
This is just a little over 34 with the grip on, I think is what it came out at.
Are you an upright kind of guy, or are you a flat kind of guy?
No, so this is 2 degrees flat. I think it's 2 degrees. I do. Fortunately, like it's one of these things where you can obsess over a number off on the Liloft machine, or you can bend it until it sits how you want it to sit. And so for me, that is typically around 2 degrees flat, depending on, obviously the length of the putter. And
so you're like a 68, 69 degree lie angle guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think right around 68 is typically what it would read. And the other thing I do with my putters, and this comes from a putter fitting I did with Ping several years ago that has held true, hasn't changed much over time, is I take a lot of the loft off it. I don't know what the stock loft is on this, but it is right around 1.5 degrees now.
And it's probably 3 or 4 stock would be my guess.
Yeah, so I'm typically, like I said, too flat and
too strong. Too flat, too strong.
I thought you were coming in with some kind of Ping putter there. I was like, that's an interesting one.
No, I do. I typically played previously the Zing line, the ZB. And if this thing stops working, I will not hesitate to go back to the Ping, which I really love. But again, it's that that shape and that toe hang that really works with my stroke. And so it's one of those like, hey, if I can fit for it, why fix it?
Currently, is that right? You have 2 clubs in your bag now. We got 12 to go. We have a wedge. We got a 58D wedge with the best finish. And we got the black on black stability tour shaft.
Battle ready Mustang. Yeah, I am ready.
What's next?
I'm ready for some battles.
Yeah, you are. What's next? Yeah, what's the next club? What do we?
Yeah, I'm talking to some guys about some fairway wood options. I tell you right now, I'm going to start the year with the Titleist T200 irons in the bag because I do have my Mitsubishi shafts in those.
So that's like 7 clubs right there.
Yeah, my fight with those is still the strong lofts make me uncomfortable at the top of the bag. But
which MMTs did you go with? The 125s?
125s, yeah. They're beefy.
Yeah, they are.
Because again, it's when I started this project at the beginning of last year, right? My elbow was still sore, so I was doing everything I could. Yeah, I had not stayed active and fixed elbowed.
Not yet.
But yeah, it's good now. So yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see. We'll see what happens with those T2s.
Well, we'll get through your bag before the end of time. So
the driver will be
it'll be changed.
The driver's going to be revolving.
We're going to need like a whole separate episode for like Tony's driver. It's going to be like Bachelorette. Like with drivers.
Ooh, can we do something like that? Let's set up a game show.
Tony's gonna have to go on like individual dates, like with each driver, and like take us through it, and like have a little confessional booth and talk through. There's gonna be drama between like the Titleist and the Ping, like they're gonna get all at each other.
I did some like hardcore golf nerd shit last night. I was down in the workshop, and I'm like, so it's I played the TS3 for more than a year, and something about that head just really worked for me. So I'm thinking again with the fairway woods too. I feel like it's as close to a tour pro mindset as I've ever had, and what I mean by that is like, I really, really want the new stuff, but I want it to be exactly the same as the old stuff, like from a performance perspective. So I'm down in the basement and I'm like weighing heads, and I'm like, I really like this head, and I didn't like this one. This one didn't feel quite right to me, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, you know what? Like 206, 207, like all the ones I really like were right in that range, and then I'd weigh one and it'd be like 201, and I'm like, I didn't like that one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is it really weird if I start going, emailing guys and be like, hey, can you send me a new driver? And I need it to be 206.58 grams if we can make that happen.
Yeah, they're like, sure, Bryson. Yeah, sure, Bryson. We also know you're the guy that builds a set of irons, shaves down weights to get the exact swing weight, and then doesn't play them the next day. So we also know that's still you. So
that was so amazing. That was still the silliest story of my life.
Sounds like a wild Friday night to me, Tony.
It was me and Chris in my basement rebuilding a set of Mizuno JPX 919s to exacting specifications.
They were perfect.
Are they in your bag?
I don't know if you ever played them after.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So what had happened? What had happened was,
I don't know.
Chris and I would go out and shoot. I think it was probably the practice round.
It was,
and I was miserable. I didn't hit the ball well, so I was pissed off about it. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rebuild these JPXs. I'm going to get the JPX perfect, and we're going to be ready to rock and roll for the actual, at least the tail end of the tournament. So I put MP18s in the bag, and I go out and I shoot even par on the front 9 for the tournament. So I'm like, well, we're just going to ride it out with these. So that was well, all you work into the irons, then the ones I was about ready to trash decided to behave themselves, and that's just golf. So
they know.
That's just golf.
They know. My putters do the same thing. If I'm not putting well, I put it on a timeout. The putt that I pick up does really well, and then I come back.
This is a classic example of bag chatter, right? The clubs in my bags were chattering amongst themselves to say, "Hey guys, we gotta get our shit together."
You need some head covers on them,
right? You put the head covers up on. Those conversations never happen, and then the irons don't really get their shit.
But everybody should, if they could. They deserve to spend a Friday night with Tony in his basement.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's an experience we could raffle off right there.
That's what I do at night, guys.
You're a simple guy, Tony, let me tell you.
Let me tell you.
Well, on that note, I think that's all. Now that we've gotten through one more club in Tony's bag, that's all we've got for today, guys. So thanks. That was a good discussion. Anything else before we out?
No, I have to take this call from my wife. So see ya.
Oh, okay. Bye.
Get stacked.
We out.
Hello.
All right, Harry, what about you? $15 million. What's your reaction and what do you do with it?
Don't give anything to my wife. I don't know. I would definitely give a pro a good professional career, a good 2 years.